You're listening to the Patriot Nation podcast, presented by Pat's Pulpit.
All right, we are back live with the Patriot Nation podcast. And Matt, it's your boy Pat Lane, as always, of course, with Matt St. Jean. Matt, we finally have an offensive coordinator. We have an actual offensive coordinator for Mac Jones. It's great.
Can we just take a mulligan on last year? Because that feels like what we're doing here.
Yeah. I mean, we got, and look, people can talk about, Josh McDaniels and question how good he was, and people are going to question how good Bill O'Brien is. I've already seen it, right? And but he's a legitimate offensive coordinator in the NFL. He's a really good, say whatever you want, he's a really good quarterbacks coach. He is. That's a fact. He's a really good quarterback.
He made Christian Hackenberg look so good the Jets wasted a second-round draft pick on him.
I mean, that's the stuff. And you listen to guys, and they all love playing for him. All the quarterbacks love playing for him. And there was that famous spat with Brady on the sideline. And then there was a rumor that Brady would consider playing for O'Brien again because he enjoyed playing for him and he liked that fieriness and he liked that competitiveness. And Mac Jones is that same type of guy. I think that Bill O'Brien is great for him. It's one of the reasons why when we talked about it before, I was higher on him than the other guys that they interviewed because he comes with that quarterback coach role already filled. Whereas, if you hire someone like McCardell, or Sean Jefferson, I like those guys a lot, and I actually think there's a spot on the staff for one of those guys, but they don't. Then you need to go out and find a quarterbacks coach, right? Now you have a quarterbacks coach with your offensive coordinator, and that's huge.
Yeah, and I don't think Bill O'Brien's gonna set the world on fire here as a coach, but he also doesn't need to, and I think he just from an organizational perspective, he's better. Right. We all think all we see is the output of what it looks like to be like what we see what's on the field. But Bill O'Brien has so much experience with so much here at different levels, different types of players. He's going to be much better in meetings. He's going to be much better at delegating stuff to the other guys. He's going to be much better at coaching up the coaches and getting them to a better spot, which all matters here because it's, like you mentioned, there's room for some of these other guys they interviewed. They interviewed Adrian Clem now for the offensive line position, which I kind of expect them to hire him at some point this week. I think we'll wake up and see that he's going to be the new offensive line coach. Troy Brown, I think, is sticking around. He's going to be the head coach for the Shrine Bowl, which we're going to talk about some players from that later. But Troy Brown's sticking around here as in some form. I guess they want him as a wide receivers coach. I guess this means they don't think he was the issue there. And if that's the case, I think we're going to see improvements because he's just going to have better infrastructure around him. That goes for all aspects here. Talked about the details, and I think the offensive scheme for the most part was actually pretty good this year. The big picture of the offense was good. It was the details that were bad. And Bill O'Brien's an expert at that.
100%. And I will say what they started doing a little bit, and I don't mind the zone running that much. The outside zone, they suck at running. They just suck at running it. They suck at running out in camp. They don't. And I don't like that. I don't like the outside zone anyways. I think the outside zone's a crappy run play. I know that there's a place for it. I just think there's a crappy running play. And with the way defenses now are so fast and so good, I just don't think that really works. I don't want to extend the play out wide and give them an opportunity to run through a hole and tackle my guy. I don't want to do that. So I like what they've done. I think some of the zone running inside worked. And then of course they run their power and it looks great. Right. So I think that they can keep some of the concepts that they have, but it's just, it's the timing of the play calling. It's the understanding what we're doing. What's the plan? What do we have that's a plan? And some of the biggest problems were the first 15 plays are supposed to be your scripted plays. That's when they suck the most. So it was like,
Yeah.
what the hell, you know?
And we saw some good moments there when they played bad defenses. I look
Right.
at that Minnesota game where they came out and
Yeah.
they looked really good. They had a plan. The offense just seemed to kind of fizzle at points. The only I will say, I thought they made good adjustments in the first game against the Jets down at the Meadowlands. Thought
Yep.
that was good. That's it. Like I don't think Patricia was an absolutely awful coach. I think he just one didn't have a good repertoire with the players,
Yep.
and two just doesn't have enough experience on that side of the ball to handle the details. And this is an instant improvement with both of those. And like, yeah, it should be better. I find I'm curious about the zone stuff because Cole Strange is a guy who is primarily not an outside zone lineman coming out. He can do everything. His linemen are versatile, and I think he can do a lot. And like Joe Tooney was that. That's what people said about him. Some people had said that to a degree about like Shaq Mason with his athleticism. So I think they just like that. Pierre Strong was a zone only running back in college, and he's good at that because he's a home run hitter. You can stretch out the play, the
Right.
defense will mess something up, and all of a sudden it's a 50-yard or 70-yard touchdown run. I'm curious what he'll look like next year, and I'm curious about the whole org, like behind the scenes right now, about how this is going to work with their evaluations, what Bill O'Brien thinks about the guys they have in the building. The fact that they're also like, it seems like the only coaching change they're making on offense other than OC is also to replace Matt Patricia as offensive line coach.
Right.
If that's the case, we might see personnel changes on offense. They might look at this and say, hey, Patricia was a problem. He wasn't all of it. Some of these guys just weren't that good, and we need to get better players in here, or at least different players, and try something else. So
Yeah.
if I look at like Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, either of them, I think, could be on the block here. I think Kendrick Bourne is a guy who he had his issues with Matt Patricia. He also had issues just playing football last year, and they can free up some space. They move on from him if they think they can improve at that spot, and they want that money to go to Myers instead. And yeah, we'll see. Devontae Parker too is a guy who they can move on from if they want to. I can't imagine they want to because I think he was pretty good. But I'm just curious. Everything's wide open right now, and I'm curious what direction they take this in.
Yeah, I mean the reliability of Devontae Parker isn't great. The problem is that what you get from him when he's good is good enough that you're not going to be able to find that from a replacement level player. You're just not going to. And I think Kendrick
unless
Bourne,
you're getting DeAndre Hopkins.
well, right, of course, right. But I think Kendrick Bourne is a good player, and I like Kendrick Bourne a lot. And he just seems to have a knack to make plays, and he has a good rapport with Mac Jones. But I don't know, like he's been inconsistent. And I don't know, was the problem between him and Matty P, or was the problem just between him and the offensive philosophy? Was the problem between, that he wasn't paying attention to meetings? I don't know what the issue was, right? Yeah. But if it wasn't just with Matty P, because you feel like if it was just with Matty P, that Bill would have stepped in and been like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, this is all season long. Our offense is sputtering and you're not putting this guy on the field. Like, what the hell are we doing?
This tells me Bill signed off on it. And if Bill O'Brien, and that's where it's a fresh set of eyes looking at all this now, probably in the coming, we have about 7 weeks here, 8 weeks until free agency, something like that. I know it's mid-March, early March. So that's, I'm sure Bill O'Brien's going to get in the building now, and they're going to go through everything. They're going to rewatch everything, and I'm sure Bill Belichick, I have to specify now, is going to be consulting him on some of this stuff, because you're not going to bring in a new offensive coordinator and then not consult him on the offensive personnel decisions for something like this. Not after what happened this year. And you want to ask O'Brien what he's comfortable with here, and you want him sitting down with Mac. He and Mac already have a rapport a little bit from Alabama, because Mac stuck around there in the spring to help transition things. So I think that's it. And I think this is going to be good for Mac. Should be good for the offense. And I feel good that we are going to know by the end of year 3 if this team is winning with Mac or because of Mac.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too that, Bill O'Brien now, Chad Graff sent a text tweet out about his EPA per play in Houston as the head coach, and then someone was talking about his EPA per play in Alabama this year too. Look, you want to argue that Bill O'Brien wasn't a good head coach. I don't think anyone's going to fight you on that. But this is what everyone wanted. This was the best thing for the team. And you hired the right guy. We don't have to go now trying to find something wrong with it. Is he going to fix things overnight? No. But he's a competent guy who's going to be a significantly better quarterbacks coach. Your quarterback is actually going to be learning and improving under him, unlike he did this year. I mean, that's just a fact.
And if it's like, we want to talk, like, Josh McDaniels was a really good offensive coordinator. How good was that offense he ran in Denver?
Right.
Like, being a head coach and being a coordinator, I think we've seen pretty clearly now, are different jobs. And just because you're good at one doesn't mean you're bad at the other, and vice versa. Like,
correct.
It's
well, some of it is the personnel too. Look at the personnel that he had in Houston. How many terrible quarterbacks did he have?
I think Bill O'Brien is an awful GM,
right.
a fine head coach, and a good offensive coordinator.
Correct. I think that's very well put. He definitely sucks as a GM. Getting David Johnson in a second round pick for DeAndre Hopkins, not exactly what you're looking for there. But again, and some of the talent evaluation.
I have to say, this probably ends the chances of DeAndre Hopkins coming to New England unless he and Bill O'Brien make up here.
Well, and that's the thing, is that realistically he could make up with Bill O'Brien. And not just that, I don't know how likely it ever was anyways. I know that people talked about, Hopkins having respect for Belichick and Belichick liking Hopkins a lot. But like, I don't know. Is he worth the amount of money he's getting paid? Is he that guy anymore? Is he truly that dude anymore? I don't know.
Yeah.
Might be. But I don't know.
Yeah, whoever makes this, we've seen all the big wide receiver deals that have happened, and like everybody talks about, like, Tyreek Hill and how well that worked out, got the Dolphins to the playoffs, and AJ Brown and Stephon Diggs, but not every move has gone perfectly here. I mean, the DeAndre Hopkins thing didn't really work out for Arizona.
Right, and that's same guy, and 4 years later? So, like, it's not ideal.
No, you can't. These things aren't always plug and play. There's always an aspect of the unknown when you're doing this. So, I mean, we'll see. I would still absolutely welcome DeAndre Hopkins in. I would, at this point, even with the 2021 free agency debacle and how those contracts worked, I'm still pretty confident in Bill Belichick's ability to assess value here. So, with any move he makes, I'm always going to give him the benefit of the doubt unless it's something absolutely insane. Unless they're giving up 3 first-round picks for DeAndre Hopkins, I'm going to assume, hey, if they make this deal, sign him and all that, then they have some good information on him.
Got a little report out of Las Vegas that the Raiders are looking to move on from multiple pieces on their team, possibly including Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. Renfrow, dude, would be so good here. He would be so good here.
He'd be fun in New England. I think this team needs a slot guy, which, again, I mentioned we're going to talk Shrine Bowl later. I think there's a prospect there who could be a slot guy for the Patriots. So I'm very excited about Renfrow. Renfrow is such an interesting thing because he's such an obvious New England fit. The Pats have just kind of, like, they had their chances with him. They have never seemed all that interested, which has always surprised me.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's about. I almost don't expect him to come to New England because they just seem to not be interested. Something about him in particular. I think he's had some drop issues too. He had injury issues this year. But hey, you mentioned that Raiders report. What's going to happen. This is the Devontae Adams to Detroit to team up with Tom Brady scenario I've been talking about. It's happening.
That's right. Hey, if he effing knew what he was going to do, then he effing would have done it already. I mean, how weird was that on his own podcast? Like, bro, it's your podcast. You just tell Jim beforehand you don't want to answer the question. Like, I don't see what the problem is.
I didn't mind him. He answered the question, and then the guy was like, "Hey, this is your show." Like, you basically said that, and he was like, "Yeah, like, I appreciate the question." Like, he changed tones real quick there. So, I think we've seen a little bit of self-awareness from Brady recently.
Yeah.
Like, he gets mad there and immediately walks it back. It's like, yeah, like, I know you got to ask that. When he left Tampa, that last press conference, he gave a long, sincere thank you to the press there. So it's funny. I feel like we did the whole midlife crisis thing with him at the start of the season, and I feel like he's come down from like that high and just the immediate emotional situation he was going through back in September to a different emotional thing here. But
that's true.
I think he's coming back.
So we'll see. Oh, Thad's in the chat saying hello. Talking about Henry and Jonnu getting more involved. Thad, we're just talking about maybe moving on from Henry and Jonnu. But I mean, listen, honestly, if the Patriots look at them and think we're not going to get 2 guys that are better than them and we're going to stick around with them, I wouldn't hate it. And I do think that, he'll find a way to get those guys open more consistently. Right. And so,
Yeah.
I'm
And I
interested to
think,
see what it looks like.
and Jonnu Smith, like the biggest criticism I've had of him is that he just does not look like he knows what he's doing on the field.
Right.
In a way that like Hunter Henry is a worse blocker than Jonnu Smith, but he routinely was executing blocks better. Like especially if you look at the Bills film, they were doing some of the last game of the season. They were doing some of the stuff they would do with Jonnu, but with Henry out there, he executed it better because he actually went into it full speed because he knew what he was doing. He committed to it, and Johnny just couldn't. I don't know what was going on with that, but maybe I'm not a Jonnu guy anymore. I loved that signing, but you never know. Maybe the reason he didn't know what he was doing was because of the coaching, and the change in coaches is going to help him. I'm not.
Possible.
I think they can, if they cut him as a post June 1st designation, they can save I think $4 million next year, which I think is enough that you have to think about doing it, but not so much that like they have it out if they want it, but they don't have to take it if they think he can contribute.
Right. Yeah. It's not like obvious where it's like, okay, we can just basically walk away from this. As like Trent Brown, who has an $11 million cap hit, you can cut him and it's like a $1.5 million dead cap hit. So you can free up almost $10 million in cap space by cutting Trent Brown. You might not want to do that, but you can. And so
there are no like good free agent tackles out there. Some of the best free agent tackles on the market all have the exact same penalty issues that Trent Brown does. So it might be out of the frying pan into the fire if we move on from him.
I'll tell you what,
unless we nail like 2 draft picks.
Right. Well, and the hard thing is like Mike McGlinchey looked awesome, but like it's hard because he's got Trent Williams on the other side. Like Trent Williams is really good. Juwan Taylor has been solid for Jacksonville. I feel like they're going to throw a bag at him.
Issues, right?
And he's had penalty issues. Yes. He's the guy that's offsides on every play. He's a false start on every single play. And it's like, well, they can't call it on me on every play if I just do it every single time. You know what I mean?
Well, and here's the thing. Now that it's like on tape for a full season here from doing that, next year they're going to start calling it. Like that's one of those where they adjust. And like
exactly.
Refs make adjustments too in the off season. Coaches do like make tapes of penalties and send them to refs and say, hey, this guy does this. Make sure you call it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's going to be going on with him.
So, and Lucky Irish asked about a new special teams coach. I don't know for sure. And Thad mentioned this too, back to him. I think it's probably going to be Joe Judge. It makes the most sense for it to be Joe Judge. It seems like that was the report that someone came out with, Joe Judge being the head coach of the special teams and Cam Acord being like the special teams assistant coach.
Yeah.
Nothing confirmed or anything like that. I don't think.
They formally announced Bill O'Brien. Did they announce him as just OC or OC and QB coach?
You know what though? I don't think the Patriots never tweeted anything out about it.
Did they? Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember.
Mike Reese did, but the Patriots did not. I don't believe.
Well, that's like we never really know. Like they'll refresh the coach's page on their website one day in the middle of the summer, and we'll know for sure.
And we're like, oh, okay. Bill
O'Brien.
That's it. I mean, not Bill O'Brien. Bill Murray.
Mm-hmm. That's the big signing. The big bill that we added today for next year.
Yeah. So the Patriots.com says report Patriots to reunite with Bill O'Brien as offensive coordinator. So they didn't announce him as anything. No. So,
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. I'm curious because I would have to imagine Joe Judge is moving on from QB coach, probably back to special teams or whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
Also, watching some of the special teams film from this year too, I'm also like, I think Cam Acord is an issue. Also, it might just be some of those players aren't that good at special teams. Watching some of the stuff, there's just a whole bunch of guys that are really, really inconsistent, and that's why we were allowing the big plays. And that's where it's like I think coaching is a factor, but it might not be as big of a factor as we think. And I also think there was just some horrendous luck with penalties and guys falling over and getting knocked
100%.
down.
And those things happen.
I'd like Joe Judge back on special teams, but I think Cam Acord is not a good special teams coach, but he wasn't as bad as it looked this year.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. All right, so do we want to let's get into the divisional? Just super quick divisional recap. Matt went 4-0 over the weekend. 4-0 on his picks. I went 2-2 on my picks. I mean, Jacksonville's never going to have a better chance than the chance they had on Saturday. Patrick Mahomes gets hurt.
They weren't going to with this group of guys, at least.
And it was like, man, like what else could you possibly ask for? And they just couldn't close the deal.
They couldn't make plays. Those drops.
They dropped a few interceptions. They dropped passes. It's like, and it's like, all right, well, Mahomes is hurt. He's hobbling out there. And you give up a 98-yard touchdown drive to Chad freaking Henne. And the first play of the drive,
legend, Chad Henne.
I know, right? The first play of the drive set the tone for me because the first play of the drive was a 5-yard pass, quick pass over the middle to a wide open Travis Kelce. I'm like, you're at the 2-yard line. Why are you back 10 yards at the line of scrimmage? What are you doing?
Yep.
It's incredibly stupid. You should have been up at the line of scrimmage, forcing him to hold on to the ball. If he's got to go to his like third or fourth read there, maybe he gets sacked and it's a safety. Like, you don't know. You know what I mean? But instead, you let him just dump it off to Travis Kelce wide open over the middle for like a 5, and Kelce, of course, turns it into 6 yards. So now you're at the 8-yard line, and it's 2nd and 4. And it's like, and then they were off and running, and they
Travis
took that.
Kelce is also really, really good. I think,
yes, but you can't leave him wide open like that.
Yeah. I think there's one lesson that's really been like driven home for me since 2018. It's just how important having that guy at tight end is for any quarterback. Just because that makes it life so much easier for Chad Henne to have that guy when you need to make a play. Just a guy you can chuck it at and he's going to make something happen.
Right.
Buccaneers didn't have that guy. Patriots have not really had that guy this season. They haven't had the Bucs. Since Gronk leaves and the offense just falls apart.
It's true.
But did you see what Gronk was saying on one of his interviews? That he was talking about like, I'll just kind of train a bit in the offseason and wait until the week before the Super Bowl and then pick one of the teams, go play for them.
He probably could too.
Why not?
But so anyway, so the Jags lose, Chiefs win, but Mahomes is hobbled. That game scares me. That game scares the hell out of me as a Patriots fan. But we'll get to that. Philly just curb stomped the Giants. It wasn't even close. That game was never close. Philly is a wagon. People, I think, forgot how good Philly was, and the Vikings made the Giants look good, and Philly just absolutely demolished them.
Yeah, and I think that's just how good those teams were this year.
Yeah,
the Giants were the best of not the best, but one of the better teams in a mediocre group, and the Eagles are one of the 3-4 best teams in all of football. So. Right. I don't think this is the Giants didn't do anything wrong. No shame to them. This is just the Eagles are that good. And that game was over pretty much immediately. It didn't take long. I went out to get food on Saturday. Like, I went out to grab food. I came back. And I was like, all right, let me catch the start of the game. I turned on the TV. The Eagles were scoring as I turned it on. And I was all right, well, that was quick.
No, it was over. Yeah, it was over. It was over before it started. Owen Thad's brother's an Eagles fan, so I'm sure he's pumped. But that's Sunday night. Saturday night. Sunday morning. Oh man. Oh, it's so glorious. Like we just need to just appreciate for a second. Just appreciate the Bills dynasty unable to win a home playoff game in the snow against the Bengals.
It's a dome team. The Bills are just the Indianapolis Colts again.
Well, they are. I mean, it's crazy to think about, but they really are a dome team.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, we kind of slept on with this Bills team is the fact that like they got really, really hurt in a lot of spots on defense, and the offense. Like Gabe Davis is not that good. He had one of the worst drop rates of any receiver out there. Like if you think Nelson Aguilar is bad, Gabe Davis is like twice as bad.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis has 14 drops in the last 2 seasons here. He had 9 this year. It's awful. The offensive line too is not that good. So I think like the Bills might have the 2 best players in the field in Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, but guys 3 through 11 at any given point were just way worse than who the Bengals had.
And hearing Bills Mafia lose their minds all night Sunday night, all day on Monday, then you're seeing tweets about, the Bengals, it was unfair because they were wearing the white jerseys in the snow and you couldn't see anything.
That was like a Daily Mail article.
Are
That's
you
a classic
kidding
Daily.
me? I was like, what is this, The Onion? Like, what are you talking about? You can't.
Well, it was the Daily Mail, so basically the Onion.
Right. It's like, come on, and it's like they got an unfair advantage. And you mentioned it before in the podcast, but like, if you're talking about a neutral site game, that's got to be the neutral site game. Like, if you can't predict the outcome of that game, and they both won the next weekend, which they did, if the Bengals had won, they would have been 2. So the Bills are 2, and they just get the 2 seed, and the Bengals were pissed about that, and I think rightfully so.
And I'm not a Zach Taylor guy, or at least I haven't been, but the way he's motivated the team around that and gotten them angry is, I mean, you saw the coin flip thing Joe Mixon did week 18, right?
Yeah, it was so good. Oh,
and you saw the comment he said to Goodell afterwards. So we'll coin flip to see if I pay this fine. I loved that. If Roger Goodell was a more fun human being, he would have taken him up on that offer for the fine and actually done a coin flip for it.
Right. That would have been unbelievable.
That would have been fun. People would have laughed.
They could have televised. It would have been sick,
And
It's one of those. It's one of those things for me. And Burrow at the end of the game when he's like, "Oh, I hope they get their refunds." Like, man,
dude,
it's just great.
I'm on Joe Burrow TikTok right now, and it's all quotes from the Bengals and like T-shirts that are being printed about that.
It's just great, and that's the attitude you want your team to have. That's the attitude that you want your team to have, and you talk about the Patriots in the 2004 Super Bowl against the Eagles, right? And the Eagles had published the parade route, and Bill just monotone. Hey, I mean. Oh, look, goes down Broad Street at 11 a.m.
Schools won't be in session.
The guys want to be there, like they're going to cancel
school.
There will be a flyover. Man, and he's just reading it off monotone. And Rodney later was like, I would have run through a goddamn brick wall. Like I was ready to kill someone. In that,
I'm thinking about the 2001 AFC Championship game too, where the Steelers had their bags packed in the tunnel so they could fly to New Orleans after the game. And that's one of my Lawyer Malloy talking about seeing that, or Willie McGinnis or whatever.
Yep, that's one of my favorite quotes of all time. Comes from they show it at the Hall during the Hall video, whatever. But it's Gil, and he's like, despite the prognostications of doom, the Patriots have showed up and will play the game. And I was like, it's so good, man.
I'm gonna have to throw on my 01 DVD again after this.
Yeah, and that's
3 games to glory.
But this is what it's all about. You find a way to motivate yourself, and that's why the game this Sunday scares me. As a guy who desperately wants to see the Chiefs lose, and I think the Chiefs should lose because I think the Bengals are better. Everyone's going to be picking the Bengals this week. Everyone's going to be picking the Bengals this week. Everyone's going to be talking about,
they didn't open on the road because they are now. Yeah.
Right. Everyone's going to be talking about how. No, I was just going to say, everyone's going to be talking about how Mahomes is hurt. Burrow's 3-0 against the Chiefs. Mahomes never beat Burrow, blah, 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 all this stuff. And that's going to motivate the Chiefs to play their best. Now, again, is Mahomes going to be healthy? No. Is he going to be, close to healthy? Maybe not. I don't know. But, you can't count that team out. And especially with the extra motivation of being the extra motivation of them being underdogs at home. That's crazy, man. Like I don't feel good about that game.
You know what it reminds me a little bit of? 2004 in the divisional round when the Pats played the Colts. The Colts had just come off demolishing the Broncos, scored all over them. And I just double checked. The Patriots were favored at kickoff, but the line came down to Pats -1 at home against the Colts now, and that's according to Pro Football Reference. I don't know where they're getting that from. So I'm sure there were some sites out there that had that as pick'em or had that as Colts favored in a division. And that's kind of getting those vibes of that. It's Sunday is going to be one heck of a day of football.
Yes.
Those are two. And do you know where I'm going to be on Sunday? Did I tell you this, by the way?
No.
I'm going down to do basketball coverage. Providence is playing at Villanova on Sunday. I've been planning this for months. The game's at Wells Fargo Center at noon on Sunday.
Oh,
that shares the parking lot with Lincoln Financial Field. I'm going to be 200 feet from that game in the parking lot when it kicks up. Yeah, so I'm taking the I'm taking the train in. Like, I'm not going to try to drive and deal with that. Not bringing any Pats gear with me.
Dude, you got to get there early and walk around the tailgates. That tailgate's going to be nuts over there. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. Oh, there's speaking of tailgates, I'm excited to see what it was the Bills tailgaters. One of the guys who does tailgates there has a TikTok account about what he cooks, and he did like his final one of the year, and it was all like some kind of like breakfast sandwiches that he was making on the Blackstone out in the snow. It looked so good.
Oh my goodness! All right, love it. Love to
but we'll have to. Maybe we'll go to a Pats game tailgate it, break out some of those recipes. The Bills know how to do that. I'll give them credit.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. So, all right, final game of the weekend was the Cowboys and Niners, and the Cowboys are the Cowboys. They're like the Chargers. They can't do it. And I really thought, I said this week, I picked the Cowboys to win, because I thought Brock Purdy was going to struggle. I thought the Cowboys defense had enough, and they did. They did have enough. Brock Purdy struggled. He wasn't very good. He was okay, but he wasn't very good. And the offense could never get it going. And San Fran is a great defense, don't get me wrong. But the offense could never get it going. Dak threw 2 really bad interceptions. And, when you needed guys to make a play, the ball got tipped. And Trayvon Diggs, he was gone. It was a pick 6. He was gone for a touchdown. He dropped it right in his hands. And the ball got tipped at the line of scrimmage and whatever. But, it hit him in the hands. If he catches that ball, the game it's a whole new game because they were in the red zone there. That's when I believe that's when they went up by 7. So now the Cowboys would have gone up by 7. It changes the game. And you see the way Dak played, and you see it's crazy that it happens every freaking year. I think they broke their record now. This is now the 12th consecutive time that the Cowboys have made the playoffs and not made the conference championship. 12 consecutive playoff appearances without getting to the conference championship game. That's downright impressive.
And the thing here is they're not a better team than the 49ers, and they had to go on the road. The reason this isn't to a certain extent it's bad luck, and there's some real bad losses in there. This isn't one of them. They just didn't have the team this year. They did not have the guys to get this done. That San Fran defense is something incredible. I know, we're going to laugh at that last play design, as we should, because that was hilarious. But the tackle that Ward made on that, I was just absolutely beautiful. Perfect tackle, rocked him, hard hit. And that kind of sums up the 49ers defense. You do anything on offense that messes up, they're going to hit you as hard as possible, and they're going to make your life miserable, and you're not getting any extra yards.
Yeah, I didn't think the play design was as bad as everyone's kind of saying it was. It's hilarious to see Zeke get absolutely plowed over right when the ball gets snapped.
Well, San Fran called the timeout and clearly was like, all right, well, we're going to send 2 guys because they can't block it if they don't throw it immediately, and we're just going to sit on whatever they do. And I loved the personnel. I just don't get why you're throwing it there. Why is that not an instant screen pass?
Well, that's what I don't understand. You got 3 linemen out wide with a wide receiver behind him. Why wouldn't you throw it to him?
They did 2 on each side. That was the whole point of this. Right. The whole point of this thing was to get it outside the numbers and to get the blockers downfield. And
so why would you throw it in the middle of the field? Stupid.
Yeah. And I also was I feel like if you're doing that, you'd rather have your actual center out there and then maybe 2 linemen and 2 tight ends or something like that.
Well, not even my thing is that I think they wanted Zeke to be there for as a pitch guy, which is fine. So put the center at the center spot and put Zeke next to Dak. And now he's out there. It's just, I don't know.
I don't think they anticipated the defense rushing on it. And San Fran called the timeout and was like, well, if they come out with that same thing, we're just going to rush. And Dallas didn't have a second thing there.
That's just dumb. Why wouldn't you?
I do wonder how long they practiced that. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I wonder what that looked like in practice.
I have no idea, but that's funny. All right. So who you got this weekend? So we have the NFC game is the first game. It's going to be Philadelphia v. San Francisco, of course, in Philadelphia, right where you're going to be. It's almost like you'll be at the game, but you won't be. And so just to recap, you're 4-0, puts you at 6-4 overall.
Yeah,
and
nailed the divisional rounds, just putting that out. Awful in the wild card, but I made up for it.
Yep. And my 2-2 makes me 7-3. So it's a heck of a lot closer than it was after opening weekend. Of course, I went 5-1 opening weekend. And what are you gonna do? So San Fran or Philly, who you got?
Well, here's the thing. We need to I need to make up ground on you here. So you can just pick whoever I say and
no, I'm
you'll
not
win.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I
Okay.
promise. I mean, it's possible that I will do that. I already have my 2 picked though. So
okay. If we make the same picks, that's gonna be really. If we make them, I might change them. Then I need to do something.
It's okay. If that's fine.
I'm gonna go Philly though. At home in this one, the key for me is that San Fran's corners are their weak spot on defense, and Philly actually has the receivers to take advantage. Like the Cowboys have CD Lamb and then a whole lot of nothing. They had to sign T.Y. Hilton. Like they got nothing at receiver. So the fact that they have 2 burners who can take advantage of that, if they can protect Jalen Hurts at all, I think he can burn that defense outside the numbers once or twice, and that might be all they need to win that one.
Yeah. I'm with you here, Philly, because listen, it's funny because last week I picked with my head and not my heart, and I'm doing the same thing again this week in this game because I want San Fran to win because I don't like Philly, but I love Jalen Hurts. And so it's like, and the other part of it for me is that, I thought Brock Purdy was going to struggle last week. He did, but the Cowboys aren't good enough to take advantage of that. I think he's going to struggle again this week against a significantly better Eagles defense than it was a Cowboys defense. And if he does, the Eagles can absolutely take advantage of that. And so I think that's where the Eagles win. It might be an ugly game, but I think that the Eagles win. And I'll go AFC Championship game first. I'll do the AFC Championship game first as well. And this one, I'm 100% picking with my heart. I don't care. I'm picking the Bengals. I have to pick the Bengals because I can't pick Kansas City. I just can't do it. I can see Kansas City winning. I can absolutely see it. And I can see everyone saying we overlooked them. We talked about the Bengals all week long. Everyone discounted them. Everyone said Mahomes couldn't play because of the ankle, and they won anyways. I could 100% see that happening, but I can't pick. I can't pick the freaking Chiefs.
All right, so we came into this with the exact same picks then. So I'm gonna go revisionist history here and change my NFC pick, and then I'll play devil's advocate.
You can't pick the Chiefs, right? Like you can't pick the Chiefs.
No, I have to pick the. I'm gonna go. I gotta get one of these here to catch up on you. So I gotta go against you on both.
You're going both. You're going against me on both?
Oh, I'm gonna go against
San Fran and Kansas City.
So I'm revising this to San Fran.
Okay.
Only because I think the 49ers can run on the Eagles.
That's true. Yeah, you're right about that.
The Eagles defense is good. I think they'll be able to run on them. And for as much as I talked up the corners of San Fran being the weakness, I think there's also still questions about how Jalen Hurts is actually going to look against an elite defense. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in football right now. How you handle this moment determines if you are a top 5 guy or if you're a top 10 guy. This is, and I'm not entirely sold that he's going to be able to place the pinpoint throws he needs to under pressure to beat a defense like this. If he can't do that, I don't think either team is equipped to come from behind is also the big thing.
Yeah.
So if one of these teams makes big plays early, I thought Brock Purdy was poised last week. I think he's ready for the moment. So I'll go Niners there. And then since I have to go the opposite, I'm going to go Chiefs.
Okay.
Mahomes is that good. Mahomes, even with a bum ankle, is one of the best quarterbacks in all of football. Travis Kelce is almost uncoverable.
Right.
Mahomes has reached a new level at reading defenses too, and I think he might be able to get through the Bengals. And Bengals have beaten the Chiefs 3 times here. All 3 of them, the Chiefs had the lead in the 4th quarter.
Right. It's true.
At some point, I think the Chiefs are going to break through and do it.
Right.
So in this case, we get the Chiefs 49ers rematch from the 2019 season.
Yeah, I just, yeah, it's certainly possible. I do think it's interesting, to say the least, to see what's going to happen here.
What I want is Bengals 49ers, by the way. That's what I'm rooting for. I think that's the most fun.
That would be a really fun matchup. I agree. And, I think it's fun for me when you look at Kansas City. My thing is, I think Kansas City, I'm very terrified that Sunday night, everyone's sitting there like, we're a bunch of big dumb idiots. We overlook Kansas City. Mahomes is great. Kelce is great. And we overlook them anyways. Like, what the hell's wrong with us? I can certainly see that happening on Sunday. So that scares the crap out of me. So we'll see. We'll see, because the Chiefs getting in there again. I'm like, come on, dude. They can't make another Super Bowl. So, by the way, Mahomes looks like he's the odds-on favorite to win the MVP. Not a guarantee, of course. Since 1999, when Kurt Warner won the MVP, the NFL MVP is 0-9 in the Super Bowl. 13 times they have made the conference finals. And they're 9-4 in the conference. So 4 other teams have lost in the conference finals as well. And again, 0-9 in the Super Bowl. That includes a Brady year as well. So it's really pretty incredible. I think they always make the playoffs, and then either they lose, they've lost in wild card games. I mean, remember the Packers went 15-1 one year and lost in the first round, and it's just,
Did they lose that? Which year was that? Was that 2011? No, or was it 2010? 2010, the year that both the Packers and it was 2011, and I think they lost to the Giants. Yeah, they lost to the Giants at home, I think. And then
Maybe it was.
Maybe and then the Giants beat the Niners in the NFC Championship, and that's when the Patriots played them.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
I think that's how that went.
So,
which, let me tell you, I still remember that 49ers Giants NFC Championship game where the Niners had a chance to win it, and they couldn't stop fumbling punts or whatever.
Brutal.
And the Niner punt returner fumbled the punt in the last game against the Cowboys, and that's all I could think of. So we've been here before.
Yeah. Yep, we have been. So, I'll tell you, nothing's worse than Brett Favre throwing a freaking interception in overtime against the goddamn freaking Giants in 2007.
They beat the Packers if they play them.
They would have killed the Packers if they played them.
The Giants had the one specific combination of things to beat that team, and they'd played them before. Mm-hmm. That was one thing. Did you ever read? I don't even remember what site it was on at this point. It might have been the Players Tribune, or it might be an old Ringer piece. I can't remember. Maybe old. It was an article talking about the 2007 Pats offense and the way it changed football. But the intro has quotes from the Miami Dolphins player that Randy Moss caught touchdowns over in that week 2 game in 2007. And he was talking about how they prepared and they saw it on the film and everything was right. And they go out there and he's just so much faster than you think he is and so much bigger. And he's I was in the right spot to make the play, and then I'm on the ground.
Yeah. Nah, and he was something else, man.
The fact that we played them twice, I think, was tough because they got that jolt out of their system and they were already adjusted to what the speed was going to be.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. One of my. I love this, dude. Hold on. This comment made my day. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that. As people in the chat room are trying to chat with each other, but you guys keep on talking and talking. It's very distracting for us. I'm sorry. We keep talking every conversation. I love it. That just made my day.
An active chat today. I love it.
It is. It's great. I love it. It's awesome. Yeah, talking to each other. It's great.
Yeah. I confirmed, by the way, the Packers were the team that went 15-1. They lost 37-20 at home to the 2011 Giants in the divisional round.
That's so embarrassing. Oh,
that's the reason we never got the Brady Rodgers or Brady Favre Super Bowls that we thought we could have.
Yeah.
Because for a while there, it was like 2010, it would have been, I think, Pats Packers. But the Pats lost. And then 2011 probably would have been Pats Packers, but the Packers lost.
Right. Yep. So, anyways, all right. So let's get into we're running a little long here. Let's get into our prospects. The Shrine Bowl.
Us running long.
I know, this is what happens all the time. We have a whole announcement at the end that we didn't even get to. Jesus Christ. Anyways, maybe we'll save that for next week. I don't know. Anyways, so Shrine Bowl is next week. It's next Thursday, I want to say.
It's February 2nd, which is why we wanted to get ahead of it a little bit now, just to make sure we get at least one episode before.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're each going to give you 2 prospects. I actually have 2 extras, and I know you have an extra one as well. So we're really going to give you 5 or 6 prospects to take a look at. 1 offense, 1 defense, and then my 2 extras are both on offense. I don't know about you, but
okay.
But nevertheless, I'll go first. AJ Finley is my first guy, safety from Ole Miss, 6'3", 200 pounds. He's playing on the east side. He's got good speed. He's got good speed. He is a deep safety. Seems like you kind of need a deep safety. He's more than likely going to be a day 3 pick, I would think. That's where I'm at right now. I'm looking at him like, hey, I kind of like that. Really good man coverage skills, like significantly better in man coverage than he is in zone coverage. Not the best tackler, but like he wants to tackle. He just doesn't have great form to tackle, and he's not super strong right now. But he has like awesome size, solid speed, has experience playing the position, and I mean his ideal fit is literally a deep safety in a man coverage team. That's like literally what the Patriots do. So that's why it's like he's a little bit down the roster. He's not a guy who's gonna, be like a McCourty and get drafted in the first round, but he could be a guy that you draft a little bit later on. Might be a developmental piece. He may not start right away, but he could be a guy in 2 or 3 years of taking over that McCourty role. And so that's I'm keep an eye on him this week. I'm excited to see what he does.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, well, I'll counter with my defensive player here, who's on the west side. That's the side the Patriots are coaching. Right. I'm forgetting who the defensive coordinator is for the Pats in this one. I'm forgetting.
Is it Covington? Although he's in the Senior Bowl, right? Is Covington in the Senior Bowl? DeMarcus Covington?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
But yeah, the Pats are coaching this. Troy Brown's going to be the head coach for the Patriots in this thing. So, I'm going with a defensive back from LSU, Jarek Bernard-Converse, who made some big plays for them. He had a pick in their bowl game. He had a pick on the first drive of the game against Alabama. Yeah, so he's had a couple clutch plays for LSU. He's started a crazy number of games in his career, too. He started at Oklahoma State. He played 5 years of college. He started 9 games his freshman year, and then every game of the next 3 years plus 9 for LSU. So he's super experienced. I don't know if he has high-end athletic tools. That's what I kind of want to see. But he can play a little bit of safety and corner. He can do a lot of stuff. He's a good tackler. He seems like the kind of day 3 guy where if the Patriots get they're going to get their eyes on him. They're going to get to work with him. They're going to see how coachable he is. If the athletic traits are there and they like what they see, he's the type of guy who they could draft on day 3, instant special teamer, and he gives you upside at kind of a Jalen Mills type guy who can play a little bit for you.
I like it. I like it a lot. So, all right, I'm going to flip over to the offensive side of the ball. I'm staying on the east side as well. So again, that's who, the Vikings? No.
Falcons.
The Falcons are coaching them, which means they may not get coached up very well, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to go with Killian Zierer. I butchered that name, but that's okay. He's an offensive tackle from Auburn, 6'7", almost 300 pounds, just a shade under 300 pounds. Super long arms, very athletic. It's super early on, so we don't know exactly. I think he's gonna end up being similar to like a Trevor Penning type of guy, where he has the athleticism, and he's probably should be a day 2 pick. But he might jump into the end of that first round conversation because of the athleticism that he has. His technique isn't great. He's a little over aggressive at times, but he is aggressive and he's mean and he's nasty and he's pretty powerful when he gets into a guy. And so I like him a lot. Oh, by the way, playing in Auburn, which I think is in the SEC, right? Auburn's in the SEC.
Yes, it is.
Decent. I think they're pretty good. 339 pass rushing snaps, 0 sacks, 4 hurries, 2 QB hits, and 6 pressures.
Wow.
That's pretty damn good.
That's pretty good. So he's productive in a good conference, and he's got some nice athleticism there.
Yep. So we'll see. And like I say, I wonder if the athleticism will kind of bump him from a round 2 to a round 1 guy, which would probably put him out of the Patriots price range. But, maybe a day 2 pick, depending on, what you do in day 1, you might go after tackle in day 2, and he'd be a guy that I think would be really interesting to look at.
Interesting. All right, I'll go with my offensive guy. And also a guy that I think they could get on day 2 here. Local kid out of Boston College. And that's Zay Flowers. I know Evan Lazar put together some clips of him on Twitter, and he's just an electric, probably slot receiver. I want to see what the actual, what the combine looks like for him. He's a little undersized, and I'm not 100% sure how fast he actually is, but he's ridiculously quick. He gets open. He makes contested catches too. He had a little Jahan Dotson in him where he's able to he plays bigger and he's able to make catches at times. And he's a freak in the slot. He has some reps where you watch it, he's dropping guys, and he's good against zone too. He's good at finding soft spots. Like he reminded me a little bit of both Edelman and like Chris Hogan in that way. Obviously not Chris Hogan's size. He's under 6 foot. But who can just find the soft spots. He'll settle down. He'll make the catch, and he'll throttle up. His game against Rutgers was ridiculous with some of his yards after the catch. I think he'd be a nice safety valve for Mac to have out there. The only concern with him, he has an 11% drop rate for his career, which we complain about Nelson Aguilar. He's in the 4 to 5% range, just for comparison here. So drops are an issue for him, and he's smaller. So I like the upside. The Shrine Bowl will be a chance for the coaches to kind of figure out what he is and how much of an issue that is, how coachable he is, and I think you get the information. So if he's already on the Patriots board, they're going to know whether or not they want to draft him, probably in the second round.
Yeah, certainly could happen. And there's already talk about him maybe bumping into that first round. But again, if the
have to have a good combine to do that.
Yeah, and if the drops are really that big of a question, I don't know how you do it, especially at his size, But you never know. So all right, I got 2 extra guys. I know you have an extra guy as well. So my 2 extra guys, I'm going to be very honest with you guys. I'm going to be very honest with everyone out there. I just picked these guys specifically because of their names are outrageously amazing. The first one is Jadakiss Bonds. Anyone that grew up in the 90s, right, knows who Jadakiss is. I mean, come on, dude. Like, let's go. Jadakiss Bonds, wide receiver from Hampton. Obviously, lead name, 6'4", 200 pounds. So he's a little skinny, but man, he's a big kid. He's aggressive with the ball in his hands. He's really good after the catch. It says that he ran a 4.65 40, but it doesn't look like it. He doesn't get caught from behind very often. He played at Hampton, so like maybe he's not playing against the fastest guys in the world, but he looks faster on the field than 4.65, which is incredibly slow, especially for a wide receiver. And so I'm interested to see what happens this week in practice and then in the game. If he can move at that size, I'm really fascinated to see, to see what it looks like. And then Jackie Chen is the other one. It's so close to Jackie Chan, but Jackie Chen, offensive tackle from Pace University, 6'5", 310. Another elite name. Come on, elite name. Athletic build, comes from a super small school. He has a decent amount of power and pop, and his athleticism is ridiculous. Didn't play football until his sophomore year of high school. And so he's kind of unpolished, but he's, again, strong kid. His movement skills and his quickness is one of his biggest things. And so he's a guy that probably going to be a later round pick coming from a small school like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the Patriots aren't afraid to do that. And we saw him, we saw Cole Strange last year in the first round. So this guy is
Lenore Run.
Exactly. So this kid isn't going to be a first or probably even second round pick, but I don't know. Has a really good week at the Shrine Bowl and then lights it up at the Combine. You never know, I guess. But but Pace University is pretty sweet.
That's something else right there.
Yeah, Jackie Chen. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
His parents moved here from China when him and his sister were little to try to give them a better life. And actually in an interview I was reading, he said they're like, if you could have dinner with 3 people alive or dead, and he's like, wow, my grandfather died last year, and I wasn't able to say goodbye because of COVID and stuff. And so he's like him, and then Jackie Chan because like he's awesome, and my name is super close to him, and I'm like, this guy's the man. We have to get after this guy.
Oh my god, that's
then again, Eugene Chung. I get bad memories of Eugene Chung. So, but yeah, Jackie Chan. I mean, come on, it's got to be good.
All right. Well, I got my last player here, my bonus player. I know we've been looking to fix up the New England offense. It's not an offensive player, but there's a guy who can score a lot of points for you. This is the kicker, Jake Moody out of Michigan. He had a 59-yard field goal against TCU in the Fiesta Bowl. He didn't miss an extra point once in college. Obviously, those are the shorter kicks there. He's made a lot of kicks. He was an All-American back in 2021. He had 66 touchbacks this season too, and over 100, I think 101 kickoffs. So, kid has a leg, and he's been very reliable for Michigan.
Yeah,
probably not quite as good this past season as the Wolverines were hoping, but really good kicker, and he's on the West team, so they're going to get their eyes on him. They're going to get to work with him
love it
this week, and they need a kicker. They need a kickoff specialist. This guy can do both. He was highly recruited. And they had Quinn Nordin. So they have a history here with the Michigan kickers.
Very true. It's a good point. So, hey, I'm down with it. I like it. I like it all. So there's 5 names for you to watch out for. I don't know if the practices will be televised, but I'm sure we'll get clips and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's not like the Senior Bowl where that stuff's going to be televised or anything. So, but I think we'll get clips and things like that online. So
I'm sure we'll get reports of some kind.
Yep.
And this is, again, Troy Brown being the head coach of this is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I like that he's getting that experience. I like that they're getting into this. They drafted a bunch of Shrine Bowl guys in the past too. So you put it all together. If they don't draft anybody from the Shrine Bowl this year, it's because they got their hands on them and said, no, thanks. None of these guys are going to be good. And I'm going to feel good about that.
Right. 100%. What they draft 4, I think they drafted 4 guys from the Shrine Bowl last year. I know it was Taekwon, Jack Jones. Who else was it? Strong, Pierre Strong.
Mm-hmm. Was Kevin Harris or no? I don't think Kevin.
No,
Harris
it was Sam Roberts, the D tackle.
Oh yeah.
And then LeBrian Ray, and someone else too that they signed as well. So
they like the guys that come through this. So, and it's not as stacked for roster as it usually is. A lot of these guys are late round names,
right?
But still interesting stuff. And hey, you need to nail the late round ones too.
Well, and you know,
studs there.
I think that's almost better if you're coaching that team. To me, it gives you a leg up because some of these guys that are late round picks, yeah, you do your due diligence, of course. You do your due diligence on everyone. But you get to see those guys up close and personal. And like when you're meeting with a team that has really good players on it, like a team in Auburn maybe isn't quite as good as they have been in the past. But when you're meeting with an Alabama or you're meeting with an SEC team and it's like, yeah, okay, like these guys are fine, but those guys are really good. Sometimes those guys get lost in the shuffle. You know what I mean? And so to get your hands on guys like that for a week is really informative, I think,
And it's also, I think the biggest thing is just how do their personalities respond to stuff? How do they respond to coaching? I'm sure Troy Brown knows exactly how the receivers and all of the offensive players are coached in New England. He's going to be able to run these drills. I'm going to run them through some of the drills they use in New England and see how the guys do. That's good of a draft. You get to practice with them. That's the bulk of what you do in the NFL. So you get to see how they look in that environment, and that's huge.
Yeah, I like it. So anyways, that's what we got. So that's going to be next Thursday, the 2nd
on TV.
Of February. It is on TV. I think it's on. I don't know if it's on ESPN, but I know it's on
somewhere.
I'm not sure. To be honest,
it's somewhere. Where are they playing this game?
Vegas. They're playing in Vegas.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So it should be a fun take, So
yeah.
All right. So I think we're going to skip our final segment that we always do.
I had one for it.
All right. Okay, let's not skip it then. We'll do it after the announcement then.
Okay.
We do have a small announcement. We're going to continue to do this announcement every week from now on until the day comes. But unfortunately, the Patriot Nation podcast and all of Pat's Pulpit podcasting was part of the cuts that happened at the end of last week from Vox Media. Starting on March 1st, the Pat's Pulpit podcast feed will no longer exist. We will not be putting out podcasts anymore for Pat's Pulpit, unfortunately. And that is something we don't know. We have no extra information about that. They've done a really poor job, to be completely frank. They've done a really poor job of getting that information out and disseminated to everyone. Even the people in charge in Byrne, who runs the site, doesn't even know what's going on, unfortunately. And so, unfortunately, it is what it is. It's been a really good run. We've really enjoyed our time here. However, this isn't the end. we're not stopping. No. We're going to continue to podcast. The Patriot Nation podcast will live on. It's not the Pat's Pulpit podcast. It's the Patriot Nation podcast. I came up with that name. I created the name. I started the podcast. I will be keeping that and taking it with me. And I'm bringing Matt along with me too, whether he wants to come or not. And we're gonna keep podcasting because that's what we're gonna do. And we enjoy talking to you guys, and we appreciate you guys coming through. And when we do figure that out, which we will do before March, we will tell you where we're gonna be. We will plug that so you can subscribe to that YouTube channel instead. And we'll keep coming out every week at least for you.
Yeah. And thankfully, we're getting this announcement now when it's a downtime for us. I feel bad for all the other shows out there that are doing the 49ers and Chiefs and Bengals and Eagles right now having to deal with this. I feel way worse for them. But we will have a new home. We can guarantee that. So we'll be somewhere. You'll be able to keep hearing our voices, whether you want to or not.
I know.
We'll have a chat room for you guys to argue in and make discussions in and talk about Lakers games. Is that what you guys are talking about now?
Lakers games and Super Bowl spreads and everything. It's great. It's been a great conversation. I've been following along. It's been awesome. But that's what we're going to do. And again, we're going to keep coming. We're going to keep coming to you. We will be on the Patriot Nation. We'll be on here, Pat's Pulpit, until the end of February. And it's possible. It is possible that we might end up bouncing off of here a little bit earlier than February, or we may even start on the other network in between and do some cross streaming just so that the people that are over there, we can kind of hook you up with the stuff over there. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do, but we'll figure something out. But again, we're going to keep going. We appreciate the support from you guys, and you guys have been listening and tuning in, and we got 10 people tuning in right now. And it's the off season for the Patriots. I know
10:45 Eastern on a weeknight.
I know.
We got
it's
10
great. It's great,
awesome.
And we appreciate the support from people. We feel it, and the Pat's Pulpit people are great, and we really love the fans interacting, and I love the site, and I love this because we are able to interact so much, with the people that watch the game, and we're fans too, and that's part of the point, So I'm gonna miss it, question. But we're still not going anywhere. Go ahead.
You guys did a draft live stream last year, right?
We did.
Is that? I'd love to be a part of that. So
listen, again. The Patriot Nation podcast is doing it. It may not be the Pat's Pulpit, but the Patriot Nation podcast is doing it. No, that's something that happened last year. It's happening again. We will be doing a live stream, and we'll be inviting everyone on, anyone that wants to come through. From
Pat's fan.
Listen, now we've had on non-Patriots fans before, coming in and giving their spin on things. So
that would be fun to have guys come in and circle through. We can, especially other AFC East guys, to come in and as their picks come in the draft to hear what they. I mean, we won't, especially for the first night, we won't have to worry about getting any Dolphins people in because they forfeited their first round pick and traded their other one.
That's true. That is true.
Just don't forget that the Dolphins had to forfeit they lost their first round pick this year. We haven't forgotten Spygate. If that's still a thing that's getting brought up, we're mentioning this Dolphins thing every year.
It's a great point. A little Tampergate. Well, maybe we'll call it. So Bradygate or something like that, So
Bradygate.
But anyways, we know Nathan. We know Nathaniel. We appreciate you coming through. And we're, honestly, we're so happy to have you guys here. And I mean that, to have you guys here and listening and participate in the chat, it's great. It's great. And so we're going to continue bringing you that content. And again, it won't be starting March 1st. It won't be on this YouTube channel, but it will be on a YouTube channel, and we will have a podcast feed out there, and we'll get that information out to you. When we have it, we'll figure all that out. So anyway, so it kind of sucks. And you know what, honestly, it sucks for us, but I feel worse for the, thousands of people that, this was their full-time job, and, and they lost their full-time job. And so ultimately it stinks for us, but it could have been a lot worse. And so
I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this because I love the Patriots. And I like talking about it.
100%. 100%. Yeah. You were like, wait, you get paid for this? And I was like, yeah, you get paid for it too. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. But I was getting deja vu when I saw that message from Byrne, because I do the college basketball stuff too, and SB Nation shut down our site back in August, September.
Yep.
So yeah, that was August when we found out. So it's the second time I've gone through this now in the last 6 months. So
and there's no rhyme or reason. There's no rhyme or reason to why they did it.
Same lack of communication both times.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. The Buffalo Rumbling, which is the Bills, they survived the cut down, but Behind the Steel Curtain, which is the Steelers, didn't survive the cut down. And you're like, well, so what? Behind the Steel Curtain was the number one sports podcast in all of SB Nation. The number one sportscast, and they cut it. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you keeping anything? You're not keeping that one. What the hell? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing over there,
but whatever.
We'll keep going on.
That's it. We're gonna keep going.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, all right. Let's do this week in sports history and get the hell out of here because it's past. Right. We're an hour over. Here we go.
And now for something we think you'll really like. This week in sports history.
All right, I've been leading everything off, so you go first here.
All right, I'll do mine here in this week in sports history. This is the 24th. It happened January 27th, 2001. Patriots go into what was then Heinz Field and knock off the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Championship game. The Drew Bledsoe game.
Yep.
Brady getting hurt. Bledsoe comes in and got all the special teams touchdowns, and that one, the Troy Brown getting that blocked field goal, pitching it to Antoine Harris. Troy Brown returning a punt for a touchdown. They scored. We talked about this. They scored as many defense and special teams touchdowns on this run as offensive touchdowns.
Yeah.
And they went into the number one seed Pittsburgh Steelers with Cordell Stewart as quarterback, and they had a 21-3 lead in that game at one point. And two of those scores were defense, special teams. So huge stuff.
Drew played his ass off in that game, and he was great. And that's one of the things real Patriots fans, and honestly, at this point, any Patriots fans that can look it up, because the Hall does a really nice job of doing it. You have to give Drew Bledsoe his due. You have to, because he could have tanked that team in 01. Because he came back healthy. Now, remember, he came back and he was healthy and he wanted to play. And Bill said, hey, listen, the kid's got something. We're playing really well right now. We're not playing. I'm sorry, you're not going back in. And the 01 team has talked about how that was Bledsoe's team. That wasn't Brady's team. Yeah. That was Bledsoe's team. They loved Bledsoe. And if Bledsoe had pouted and complained about it and been vocal about it, the team probably would have fallen apart. But he didn't. He was pissed. Of course he was pissed because he wanted to play and he's a competitor. But he supported his teammates. He supported Brady. He played ball. He was there working his ass off every day. He was helping Brady. And when Brady went down in the AFC Championship game, he came in and was ready. And he played lights out in that game. He almost threw a bad interception, but he threw. I mean, I still remember the teardrop pass that he threw to Troy Brown on the sideline. Just like he took something off it, and I'm like, Drew took something off it. Like, what is that? It was awesome. So that game was incredible. So
yeah,
that's a great.
That
one.
was fantastic. I was on TikTok last night and I couldn't sleep, and the full highlights of that game came up. I just watched the whole thing, just reliving it.
Love it.
Amazing
so good.
Stuff.
It's so good.
So what's yours?
So I'm going to go with this day, which is the 24th, January 24th, 1947. The NFL adds a fifth official, which is the BJ, the black judge. And they also allow sudden death in the playoffs. Also allows sudden death overtime in the playoffs. 1947, January 24th, 1947.
So I'm sure the Bills probably aren't happy about that after last year.
They're not. But they've changed that rule just so that everyone gets a chance now.
Got to get to overtime to make it happen.
About offense or whatever. So
yeah, but how much? 13 seconds for the Bills against the Chiefs last year. That's going to haunt them. So we always say, "Oh, they'll get back."
Yeah,
it does not always happen.
Yep,
stuff happens. Bills got hurt this year, and they couldn't make it back. And
right.
Then things change. So
complain as much as you want. Complain as much as you want. I don't care. Complain as much as you want about overtime when we didn't get the ball. You had to lead with 13 seconds and you lost. Like I don't care. I don't care.
It's all on you.
Stop it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
At that point.
And now the Chiefs did the same thing as the Patriots. in 2018 where they scored to take the lead with 30-something seconds left, and they drove right down the field and kicked the field goal to tie it and send it overtime. The difference is that the Patriots went down and scored a touchdown. And by the way, they had, 3 3rd-and-10s and converted all of them. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, they made the plays. I remember there was a study that was done at some point that showed we always, college overtime gets brought up as kind of the pinnacle of everybody gets the fair chance because they start at the 20 or the 25 or whatever it is.
Yeah, 25.
You do it like innings in baseball where you're going back and forth trying to score and all that. Which so you got the 7 overtime game like we got with LSU and whoever it was, all those Texas A&M, fantastic game. But it actually found that I don't remember which team, but that game, that style of overtimes doesn't create 50-50 outcomes. It isn't even. And the NFL one before the rule change was actually the closest to even of any form of football overtime that's out there. So I thought it was fair. If it's a team game, if you can't stop the other team from scoring on a one drive where that's all it takes, you're probably not good enough to move on, especially when you've already played 60 minutes of football.
I mean, you just can't give up a touchdown. Give up anything else you want. You just can't give up a touchdown.
And the way that we talk about, Josh Allen getting the ball back. All right, let's say they do and they get the touchdown in that game. Do you have any confidence that Bills defense was getting a stop on the Chiefs at any point? The way that
right.
It's okay, sure, you extended another series. At some point, somebody's going to fail to score, and it's probably not going to be the Chiefs.
Well, so the interesting question for me is that if you got the ball first and scored, do you go for 2? Because
think about it.
You certainly think about it because the other team, they have a chance to at least tie the game, and then are they thinking about, well, what if I go for 2 and win the game? Right?
Well, that's if the Bills score second there. I think you have to go for 2 with how the Chiefs looked, and then the whole thing comes down to one play.
Right. And maybe you convert it, but maybe you don't. I mean, I don't know.
That's a coin flip.
To me, if I scored first, I'd go for 2. If I scored second, I probably wouldn't. But if I scored first, I'd go for 2 because then I'd just say, hey, all you got to do is stop them from scoring a touchdown. And I'm going to bet that my defense can stop them from scoring a touchdown. And I'm going to bet the chances that me getting the 2-point conversion or my defense stopping them from scoring a touchdown should be better than the chances of me winning after. You know what I mean? So that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
anyway. I'm curious. Hopefully, it would be fun to see the new overtime rule come out this week and get to see how that looks. The other thing I remember, because they changed the overtime rule in 2011 for the 2011 postseason.
Okay.
Where that's where it was. If you score a field goal, the other team gets a chance. It was no longer just sudden death.
Correct.
I remember Broncos Steelers goes to overtime, and it's boy, here we go. We're getting to see the rule. First play, Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace, takes it to the house, and that was. And the Broncos came to New England and got absolutely thrashed.
Oh yeah,
that was fun.
R.I.P. Demaryius Thomas, crazy.
Patriot legend right there.
Yeah. Yep. So.
Is that going to wrap it up?
It is. It is going to wrap it up. So thanks again for listening, guys. We appreciate it. Gary popped in here from the UK. Appreciate you coming through, Gary, and all of our European friends over there that join every now and again. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll be back next week. I think I'm going to release this as a podcast on Thursday. I'm pretty sure Pat's Pulpit is podcast coming out Wednesday, so I'm going to put this out on Thursday. And that way, it's it's not too early, but it's all a day early, whatever. So
I don't know when we're recording next week, but we also, because the Shrine Bowl is Thursday night, we could do a Friday show and react to whatever happens there, and we have the time.
Yep,
we don't really have to preview the Pro Bowl.
I like that. That's a good idea. No, it's a good idea. We could do that. So
sounds good.
All right. Well, have a great night, guys. Thanks for listening, as always, and we will talk to you next week.